Have you been hurt in a car wreck or injured at work? Give my friends at Hoggett Injury Law a call. Their motto, with us, it's personal. I've known Darby Hoggett forever. We became good friends. Many of his clients have become his good friend. You only have to pay Darby up front. If your case goes as planned, Darby will be the one writing checks to you. That sounds good. So if you've been hurt in a car wreck or injured at work, call Darby's team at 1-833-HOGGET. That's 1-833-HOGGATT, or visit the website at hoggettlaw.com. Welcome to the Broncos podcast with Troy Renck. I am your host, Troy Renck from the Denver Post. We're on YouTube. You can find me on Spotify, on Apple, or wherever you download your favorite podcast. We're growing. We're working through some of the growing pains. At times I feel like Kirk Cameron, but I'm not. But we're doing well. It's an integrating process of moving the pod from audio to video to get my fat Charlie Brown head on YouTube, and just opens up a wider stream of every possibility. So thank you for those who've watched it on YouTube, and for the loyal members of Broncos country who have been there A1 day one for me, listening on audio wherever you find your podcast. It is an absolutely wonderful Wednesday morning. I've already been out, took Bentley the Bulldog for his hour-long walk. He saw some ducks. He saw a rabbit. So he had a good day. But it was a very, very difficult day in the NFL yesterday, and that's cut down day, where you see nearly 1,200 players cut. I've talked about this before. The abrupt nature of it is so jarring because for many, their career is over. And it always comes with surprises. And that certainly was the case in Denver, with a well-known popular receiver released in Tim Patrick. What are the Broncos doing? What is the meaning behind that move? Are they better by some of these moves? What is the philosophy? We're going to get to all of that after the break. Never a bad time to enhance your home, maybe make it more comfortable. You just want to sell it. That's where Jamie Haig comes in. He and his wife, Lisa, run RBJ Glass. They pride themselves on customer service, honesty, and integrity. RBJ Glass installs European shower enclosures, standard shower glass. They do mirrors, window and glass replacement, insulated doggy doors, office cubicles, and small commercial storefronts. They have competitive prices and offer discounts to veterans, senior citizens, and have even accommodated single parents. Give my friend Jamie of RBJ Glass, a call. That's 720-883-3144. Welcome back to the Broncos pod. Let's get into it, shall we? I am Troy Renck from the Denver Post. Some of you are mad at me based on my emails this morning and social media interaction. The Broncos, as you are probably well aware by now, released veteran Tim Patrick. This one stings. It hurts. I'm the first to say it. I covered every game of Tim Patrick's career, from practice squad to working his way into the mix to being the most reliable receiver on the team for the better part of a couple years. He was just as, Mr. Dependable. Never dropped the ball. Tough, brought energy, brought attitude, brought an edge. And then there's the reality of pro sports. Athletic Darwinism, if you will. My wife yesterday, when she heard that Tim Patrick had been cut, she said, "Isn't that age discrimination?" And I said, "Unfortunately not in pro sports. It's athletic Darwinism." Or, as I like to call it, rebuilding. The Broncos are doing that, folks. They won't say it, but this is yet another move that shows they are doing it. So let's get specifically into Patrick, and then we'll widen out. Why was Tim Patrick released? Didn't he have a touchdown with Bo Nix against the Packers? Didn't he look good in the scrimmage against the Packers the Friday before the preseason game? The answer to those questions is yes, checkbox, yes, checkbox. So why? The reality is this. They're looking at it over the course of several months, not a couple weeks. And they believe that Devon Vele, is Tim Patrick, a younger version. Now we'll see. That's part of projection. It's part of scouting. It's part of coaching, where you see the attributes, you see the skill set, and then you try to see the vision. Can we get this person to here? Nobody believes Vele is as good as Tim Patrick right now. But will he be in a month, a half season, at the end of the year? on a rookie contract, 7th round rookie contract. That's a strong argument to make based on the player I saw in camp. And it stinks that, they're both from Utah, both, took the long way to the NFL. In the case of Patrick, because of some gruesome injuries. In the case of Vela, he went on a Mormon mission out of high school for 2 years and then walked on and played 5 years at Utah. He got on the scholarship second year there. But, you're talking about 7 years removed from high school. So the clock was ticking on him. He understood that. He had to make the team because his career's got to get going. But they saw enough from Vela, clearly, to believe that he can be similar to Tim Patrick in the passing game. Also, and this is where this X factor breakdown, and it hurts so much because of Patrick, special teams versatility. They cannot play Patrick on special teams right now. They can't do it at his age and with his injury history. Remember, he missed 2 full seasons with a torn ACL and a ruptured Achilles tendon. And there was a point after, I think it was the Packers game, and excuse me if I'm wrong there, but it was some point during this preseason where Sean Payton was praising Patrick and said, the history of guys coming back from an injury and missing 2 years basically is not great. And I can guarantee you that is where this decision is leaning, is we're not sure he can stay healthy, and can he play special teams at this point in his career? It wouldn't be prudent because you'd be risking injury, and then, why is he here? It's a little surprising because he could have moved on from him. He restructured his deal, and everyone's like, you took a pay cut and you do this to him. Well, if he hadn't taken a pay cut, they were going to cut him. So he had no choice. This, again, the NFL is as sentimental as a parking ticket. So he took the pay cut to put himself in position to have a chance to make the team. I thought he made it. I'd have no issue if he made it. But I like the idea that they cut him. And it has nothing to do with Patrick. Again, it's a bigger philosophical decision going on here. They're going younger across the roster. They didn't make cuts yesterday to their roster. They injected it with Botox. Folks, they're getting younger. And this is a good thing. This should have happened after 2017. That's when they should have started the rebuild. 16, they missed the playoffs. 17, they lost 8 straight games, were an absolute train wreck. That is when they should have stopped the Band-Aids, stopped the delusions of adequacy, stopped pretending they were one player away at quarterback. That's when they should have done it. Well, here we are 7 years later, and they're doing it. They're not saying they're doing it. It's an unannounced youth movement in some ways, but they're clearly going younger. The tie went to the younger player on the depth chart. I kid you not. And it's nuanced because, a youth movement means a bunch of rookies starting. That's full-blown youth movement that we are tanking. They're not doing that. The only projected rookie starter right now is Bo Nix. But if you look at the 2-deep chart, look at all those guys that are young in their first and second years on the second spot of the depth chart, whether that's Nate Atkins, whether that's Marvin Mims Jr., whether that's Jonah Ellis at edge rusher, whether that's Audric Estime at running back, or Jaleel McLaughlin or Blake Watson. That's what I'm saying is where they went really young. Riley Moss starting at corner in his second year. You got LaVale Bailey they kept at inside linebacker over Jonas Griffith. You got J.L. Skinner in his second season. Kadron Smith, new to the roster. There's only, if you can believe this, folks, and this is what I'm talking about, how they're going younger and reshaping this roster. There's only 19 players remaining on this team that were there when Sean Payton took over in February of 2023. Prior to that season, that's how much change we've talked about. That's how much. So Tim Patrick being released, I agree with it. It's not that I agree that I dislike Tim Patrick. I don't. Anyone that's around Tim Patrick loves Tim Patrick. And he's already signed with the Detroit Lions practice squad, according to reports, where he's going to work his way under the roster, and he'll probably help them. I hope he does. I'm rooting for him. I root for all these guys. I don't have an issue with these guys. It's never personal. It's just the Broncos aren't in a position to stay sentimental to guys anymore. It hasn't worked. Look at the last 8 years. No playoff berths. 0. 7 straight losing seasons. They haven't had this many losing seasons in a row since 72. They were wearing vertical socks and brown and yellow uniforms during part of that time. So you can't keep doing the same thing, staying sentimental to old players and say, oh, we're going to catch this guy here with us, patch this up over here. And it's not working. You can't keep just putting new shutters on the house and a new front door. It needs a change to the foundation. And that's what Payton's doing. He might be wrong with this, but philosophically, I agree with him. He's right. Ty goes to the younger player. He has added players. Remember last year, the buzzwords were, discipline, tough, smart players. This year, the buzzwords are clear: young and hungry and dangerous. No one personifies this more than Bo Nix and the guys across the roster. George Payton told us yesterday, I have no fear about going young. We like the young players, but he disputed the idea when I told him, what does this mean for expectations? Like, we're winning. It's all about winning. That's fine, because Sean Payton's never won fewer than 7 games in a season, folks. Never. Last year, he had him in position to make the playoffs until they just absolutely dissolved before our eyes at the end of the year. I mean, that Patriots game, and he didn't exactly drape himself in glory, let's be honest. His management of the clock at the end of that game was just brutal. But he looked at that game, looked at some of the efforts from some of the players, looked at how there wasn't the synchronicity. That wasn't everything coming to a point. If this is the right team, if we've got the right players, we should see on film after that game the Broncos kicking the Patriots' ass because they're terrible last year. And instead, it looked like the Patriots were the team playing for a playoff berth. That was a huge red flag moving forward, that they do not have the right mix of guys for whatever reason. For whatever reason. So you move on in the offseason from Josie Jewell, from Justin Simmons, from Jerry Jeudy, and who requested a trade. And I mean, fans were over Jeudy, let's be honest. I had championed Jeudy forever. He needed a fresh start. It was not working here. He needed a fresh start. And now you see Tim Patrick out the door. And this could be Garrett Bowles' last year, honestly. This could be Cortland Sutton's last year if some of these guys develop. So finishing up on Tim Patrick. Why is he gone today? And it hurts, Broncos country. I get it. My email shows it. You're pissed about it. That's why you're a fan. I love everything about that. But when you're an executive and when you're a coach trying to fix something that's been really bad for a long time, you have to be prepared to make difficult decisions, and you can't have sentiment involved. And in the case of Tim Patrick, the reality is they see Devon Vele as the same player, and Patrick doesn't play special teams. So you end up with a receiving core that's different looking than we've expected in the past, and it's younger. But you end up with a receiving core of Cortland Sutton, the one old guy that's been here. Josh Reynolds, a veteran, but a 3 pretty much everywhere he's been with the Rams and Lions. Marvin Mims Jr., Troy Franklin, Devon Vele. And also remember here, because that receiving core, let's be honest, that's a little short for me. That's not enough. Little Jordan Humphrey is expected to re-sign, and then if he goes to the practice squad, they move him in and out. Like, he literally goes from practice squad to like second on the depth chart. I think it stinks for him personally because he's probably their second or third best receiver, and he has been for a couple years. So don't look at just the guys on the 53 right now, because I fully expect Little Jordan Humphrey to play a part on September 8th. Fully expect that. And I expect Burton to re-sign to the practice squad as well, the fullback. Those 2 veterans. It's kind of the handshake deal. We need to keep and protect guys, younger guys we don't think will make it through waivers. We're going to put you on practice squad, and we're going to call you up. And I'll give Payton this. When he tells guys that, he does it. He did it to the Nooch last year. Ben DiNucci promised him, I think it was 4 call-ups if he stayed with the Broncos, and he delivered. And so if his word means something, and you believe you're going to get called up, you stay on the practice squad. And Burton and Little Jordan Humphrey have both played with Sean Payton with the Saints. So don't look at the receiving core exactly and say, oh my God, that's it, because it is short. I'm not going to argue with you there. But Little Jordan Humphrey will be part of that mix, and I expect him to be part of that mix on September 8th at Seattle. But that is why they moved on from Tim Patrick. It's just the reality of Vele popped in camp. Vele can play special teams. Vele's younger, and it just protects them, and it gives them position versatility at a time when that's more valuable than just sticking with the veteran. And it hurts. It does, folks. But I agree with the move. So is younger the answer? Is younger the answer? The reality is we don't know. We don't know. My baseball background is such where I've seen teams torn down, built up, and win championships. The most recent example, who've done it better than anyone, are the Houston Astros. They tanked. They got first picks like Carlos Correa. They rebuilt around Correa and Bregman, added pitching, and then they have been the best team in baseball over the course of the last 8-10 years. That's the example of how you do it right. Tear it down, lose 105 games, and draft like crazy. But I will say this, the easy part is to tear stuff down and go younger. The hard part is to go younger and get better. And so is younger the answer? I say philosophically, yes, absolutely. That it doesn't make any sense, as we've seen the last several years here, to just Band-Aid and hold on with veterans. It stinks because you grow attached to these players, whether it's Tim Patrick, whether it's Jonas Griffith, whether it's Justin Simmons, any of them. I get it. I do. But it's not working. And so when you're building a team out and you want depth, and you're building a team out and feel like we've got to win in the margins on special teams and on this athletic, dynamic kickoff, that's where younger for me is the answer. Now, we could get proven wrong because when you go younger, the risk is you're projecting. As they say, faith is believing in what you haven't seen. So you have faith that with a younger player, our coaching is going to get them to that level. They are going to get it. And that's what hurt Patrick, is when Sean Payton would say, I don't have to see it every day, but I have to see it. I don't think he saw it enough from Tim consistently. So there's the risk, like it's there, but is it going to be there every week because of everything he's dealt with, just the gruesome injuries? With young players, the risk then, so that with Patrick is the risk, can he do it over time because of what his body's gone through the last 2 years and stay effective? That's the risk there. The risk with the younger player is he going to figure it out? And some guys mentally struggle with that, and they struggle with expectation. But if you look at this roster, as I mentioned, 19 guys are all that's left from 2 years ago when Sean Payton took over this team. He wants it built around young and hungry because they're more coachable. You can mold them like clay. They have everything to prove, every reason to listen. They're out there practicing 6 straight days, right up to the number, 2 hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes, and running gassers afterward. You can do that with a younger team. And Peyton's like that. You can see that he talks about, and great people in sports have talked about this, and I agree with this, that nothing gets accomplished without energy and enthusiasm. And you could certainly have that from an older team, but his older team wasn't working. And you really are going to have energy and enthusiasm when you tilt younger. And so that's where I look at this Broncos, younger being the answer. I don't know if it's the answer. I'm being honest. But I know the old way wasn't. They could not continue to do it that way, folks. It wasn't working. So holding on to a vet and then October 7th, oh, we have to release him, or it's just not. I mean, you see this with the Rockies. It's why I didn't understand. Why do you bring back Charlie Blackmon? Why? Because, sentiment, fan favorite. And we all agree. We all love Charlie. But he's taking at bats away from younger guys. That's why I cut Chris Bryant at the end of the season. $108 million. I don't care. He's not going to play. I don't want him taking at bats away from younger players. He's done. Everyone can see that. And God bless him. The fact that his back has betrayed him stinks. He was a one-time the best player in baseball. He's not even a shadow of that player now. But when they bring back Blackmon and they overpay him, that's what happens when you stay sentimental, when it's not working. So you have to be prepared to make tough decisions and do it in a classy way. And George Payton said that about Tim Patrick. They love the player. They love the person. They wish him nothing but success. They mean that. The guy's a rehab monster. He's in there every day. You want him to succeed, but you have to make decisions. What is best for the team, not the player? And in this case, the team is better off going younger. So in this case, and across the roster, whether it's with Bailey, whether it's Smith the safety, whether it's with Nate Atkins to save it tight end, you're saying that the tie goes to the younger player. And there's nothing wrong with that. And if we look up in November and they're terrible, then we can say younger was the play, but you didn't have the right young guys. But that's the risk here. There's no guarantee. But the point is, if you still stay old, I know where it's going. Guys get hurt. They get disgruntled. We saw it with Frank Clark last year. We saw it with Randy Gregory. They don't like to be here. They want to win. They want whatever. And it gets hard in the messaging. So, yes, I believe younger is the answer. Whether it ultimately is, I don't know, but I certainly agree with the philosophy of it. And it brings us to the final question. After all of this, Patrick gone. We look at Justin Simmons gone. Josie Jewell gone. Jerry Jeudy gone. McManus the year before. All these guys are gone. The longest tenured Broncos, Courtland Sutton and Garrett Bowles. And Sutton was about this close to being gone, and Bowles might be gone after this year. Are the Broncos better? Well, I'll put it this way. Our Broncos preview magazine section is coming out this weekend, and please take a look at it. It is unbelievable stuff, not because I'm in it, because Parker Gabriel, Ryan McFadden, Sean Keeler, all of us, Bennett Durando, all of us contributed to the magazine. It is an amazing product if you're a Broncos fan, and we make predictions in there. And my prediction for the Broncos is 6-11. So when they do all this, I'm not like, oh my God, 11-6. What am I kidding? Over. I do think they're going to be over 5.5. I think they're barely going to be over it. I think their ceiling is 8 and their floor is 5. But by doing this, are they better? They have a higher upside by doing it this way. This is what I love about getting younger. The upside is higher because with the veterans, we've seen it's plateaued. They could never get to a winning record. They played meaningful games in December, one time with Vance Joseph and got crushed at San Francisco. They had everything in front of them with Vic Fangio and got beaten by the Bengals when Drew Lock gives the ball to Trey Hendrickson at the goal line. And then last year, they had the playoffs in front of them. You got to win and beat the Patriots, and they gag it out. That's been like it since 2016. So if by going younger, for me, the upside's higher. You should stay healthier. You should be better as the season goes along. And they're going to need that because you look at the back half of their schedule, it is absolutely brutal. Chiefs, Ravens, Chargers. I mean, a lot of these games, and the Chiefs and Ravens back-to-back on the road. But that first half of that schedule, you can make some hay, folks. That's where you have a chance. So are you better? I think your upside is higher with the younger players because they have a chance to grow. Where the veteran player is going to plateau, this is who he is. It's not going to get any worse. It's not going to get any better. And so if we're a 7-win team, we're a 7-win team. This way, you could win 5 games. You could. Young players make mistakes, turn it over, miss assignments. And you can look, they're going to have moments they look bad, folks. We understand that, right? But also, they galvanize. It's the collegiate feel. They come together. They all feel every guy I've talked to, nobody cares about us. Nobody thinks we're any good. Nobody's talking about us. And we're young, we're hungry, and dangerous. It's got that collegiate feel. Can they turn that higher upside into something? And I don't want to say 2024 and 23 Texans. That's not fair to the process. But I do think they could be the 2022 Detroit Lions, who started off terrible and got hot. I think it would be the reverse. They'd need to start off well because I can't see them going on a heater with the back half of that schedule. But could they get to 9-8? And then the next year, the Lions were this close to going to a Super Bowl. And that to me, not so much the Texans of last year, but the Lions of 2 years ago, that is the template of a bunch of draft picks coming together, a philosophy meshing. We're all on the same page. We're all in this. Shut down the doors. It's us against the world. That Detroit Lions team is the one to me that makes the most sense when you look at what could happen positively for the Broncos. That 2022 Lions team that turned it around after being the worst team in the league for several years and nearly got to the playoffs, and then last year were in the mix all the way. So that for me is the goal. That for me is the goal. And so, folks, I'm not going to sit here and tell you it shouldn't hurt with Tim Patrick gone. It should. Those of you have his jersey, those of you who've met him, know him, seen him, he does stuff in the community. I've been at multiple community events with him. It is impossible not to like and respect Tim Patrick. And he was one of the most popular guys in the locker room. So trust me, there's some guys hurting in there. But in the big picture, these are the moves that have to be made if the Broncos are ever going to get back on the right track. They have the right coach with the right quarterback, and now you're building a roster underneath that's younger, more athletic, that's more versatile. And so you can see how this could fit. Doesn't mean it will, but this is, for me, the right approach. Because what they were doing was not working. It had flatlined. It had plateaued. And whatever you want to say, there was no more upside. Now there is. So it hurts. It hurts to see Tim gone. I wish him nothing but success in Detroit. I'll be shocked if he doesn't have success there in a different, maybe more limited role. But this was the right move. The Broncos went younger because losing is getting old. And I think it's going to work. To some degree, it's going to work. You're going to see the upside, and you're going to leave this year thinking, you know what? 2025, this team's got a chance and should be in the playoffs. That's the goal of all of this, is that after this year, you believe Bo Nix is your franchise quarterback. You've got pieces in place. You go out and get a few weapons in free agency, and 2025 sets up as a return to the playoffs. Folks, I hope you enjoyed it. You guys are the best. Again, you can find the Broncos podcast wherever you pick it up on audio. That is on Apple, on Spotify, Spreaker, wherever you get your podcasts. And again, now clearly we are on YouTube. We'll have guests coming up. It's a weird time because the Broncos don't play until September 8th. We'll have some news with the groundbreaking of their facility tomorrow. Greg Penner and the ownership group, that training facility, the groundbreaking is tomorrow morning. We'll have, but starting the following week, we'll get into a rhythm of this where they'll have at least a player or guest every week because that's when the practice schedule settles. It's just been crazy time, but now it's starting to get normal. I could not do this pod, and we do it every twice a week, without the great folks at Mile High Sports, without Darby Hoggett, my A1 from day one, and RBJ Glass, Jamie Haig. Broncos country, I do this pod for you. Happiness, that begins with me. Go out there and have a great day.